Welcome to Nell Town 2 Model Railway. My model railway build in 00 gauge from Putney to Wandsworth Town, where nearly everything is built from scratch. So in this video 20, I will show you how I have completed the lighting, including soldering the resistors, etc., and then move on to a little bit about the name boards for the platforms, and then a more full insight into the next part of the project. As you may remember, some of the single stanchion lights I recovered from my previous layout, but the double-headed platform lamps that you see here I've had to purchase. I got these from an Amazon site. I wasn't too pleased with them when they arrived. They were not as good as the lights I had previously received from another company called Eve's Models. So I think I'll be going back to them in the future if they supply what I need. So this is how I wired up one of the double-headed lights. Just videoing the one because the other 8 or 5 in fact, and all of the single-headed lights were wired up in the same fashion. You'll see that I've changed the colors and I'm using white and yellow, white being my positive, yellow being the negative, so I can identify lighting from bus wires. I also use a set of helping hands, which I would recommend when doing soldering like this, as it does make things a lot simpler than trying to hold wires in one hand and solder with another. So yeah, do use them if you can. And you'll also notice a 9-volt battery just to the bottom left, so I could continually check once I'd added the resistor that the connections were okay. Once both white and red wires had been attached to the lamp, I again ensured that there was continuity of electricity and that the LEDs would all work before I used heat shrink to cover the soldered joints and protect from shorts. As I said, the double-headed lamps when they arrived were not exactly the best. I don't know whether it's a standard from the company, but the heads of the lights weren't actually attached to the standard. So once I had wired them up, I had to just tighten the small wires within the lamp post itself and then super glue the heads in place, which I don't think I should have had to do. I think that they could have all been packed flat and been properly affixed. As I say, Eve's Models do that, and also the images from the company showed that there were balls on top of the lights, but they came without those. I couldn't be bothered to return them, so I'm just leaving them as they are, but had to seal a hole in the top of the tube. Unfortunately, when I was building platform 4, I'd already drawn out my plans for the name boards and designed them on Lightburn and cut a load out. So I don't have any video for that, but what I will say is that they are made from 1mm MDF. It is slightly oversized for the board itself, which would be just a metal sheet, but I have to consider robustness on the layout. So here they are, and this is how I just glue them up. I also used Inkscape to design the actual name itself, and this will be reused when I come around to Putney, just changing the name. So nice and simple, all saved on the computer. I purposefully made the sign legs longer than needed, as I've decided to drill holes and insert them into holes without gluing, so that should I need to do any work on the platform, I can remove these less robust items. First of all, I've got to make good this gap behind platform 4, and that will be just with some foam board and then some trees and shrubs, as per the real thing, as it leads down to sort of public gardens. I then have to look at closing the gap below the platforms and ground level. My plan is to make this removable using magnets to hold it in place, but try and cover up as many gaps as I can between that part of the scene and the platforms. So this little part of the enterprise will be a bit of a planning monster, as not only do I need the embankment and the walling for the facade of the building to be removable to gain access to the wiring, it will also mean that a lot of the buildings in the forefront of the scene will also need to be removable. So I've got to try and work out whether I'm going to place them all on boards so I can slide them all into place like a jigsaw, or have them independently removable and maybe use little magnets to keep them all in place when they're on the board. Thank you once again, and I hope you enjoyed this little sojourn into Nell town. Please like and subscribe. I'd like to see viewing numbers go up, but I'm not begging. And if you do know anyone who's interested in model railways, please let them know what the link is. It's just nice, and as I say, gives you the mojo to keep going if people do view. So thank you very much indeed, and see you soon.